Well, good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith with an update here on our social media platforms, and we are tracking a heavy rainfall event ongoing in the forecast area right now. The threat of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms is now much lower as the instability is lower and some of the dynamics are lifting out, but we're stuck with this rain. It is a slow-moving front that's creating this, so I expect the rain to continue to drag through the area overnight tonight. It'll gradually wind down after midnight and into the early morning hours, and in the meantime we've got the potential for some significant flash flooding in the area. There are a lot of areas that are under flash flood warnings right now, but specifically Monroe County is a location where we've seen some very impressive totals of rain, about 8 inches of rain around Frisco City and Monroeville. So we're going to take a look at that. Also, we'll see about what's happening back into Greene County and George County, where we've been really socked with the rain. It hasn't quite made it into Mobile yet, but some of this heavier rain banding will edge in here later today. We expected this to be a slow-moving band of rain, and that's the way it's materialized. And sloppy night out there. Then we get to prepare for some colder weather in your forecast. And let's take a look at it. I'm going to start out right now with a wide view of the radar. Hopefully you can see that good on whatever device or computer that you're watching this on. And so I'll zoom in a little bit here, and we've really yet to see the showers start in Pensacola. We've really yet to see significant rain in Mobile, but we've noticed a big change in the overall structure of this event. This is 5:07 p.m., and we had a very well-defined squall line, which was stretching from up into Conecuh County, right in through here, all the way back into George County. What's happened since then, if I advance the radar forward, there's starting to be more banding setting up ahead of that, and so the whole thing is just getting more scattered in nature. And the spreading out of the line is actually causing for some weakening. But we're also still seeing rain that's very persistent in some areas, specifically like what we have going on in Monroe County. And let's look at alerts first. There are no tornado watches in our area, but we have a good portion of the area that is under a flash flood warning. And it's going to be basically inland, everything north of I-65 and along Interstate 65, and a little north of I-10 up into Greene County and George County. So Greene, George, northern Mobile, northern Baldwin, southern Washington, and Clark. All of Monroe and parts of Conecuh County are under flash flood warnings. The rainfall right now is still real heavy in the warned area. There are some places where we've seen some of these convective bands beginning to move. One of those is just south of Monroeville down towards Repton and just down to around Huxford. Now on the south side of 21, that rain band has shifted a little, but there's still more to the west where we're still getting some downpours back towards the south part of Clark County. So there will be more rain tonight, unfortunately, in areas that are warned. And I want to show you the precipitation totals. And so some spots have seen, an inch or so, and some spots have seen some off-the-charts rain. We'll start in Monroe County. And this is going to be the drainage, the upper sections, the far northern upper sections of Big Escambia Creek and Bear Creek. Those are going to be the low points. The topography of the land around Frisco is upland and flat, but there are some gullies. And where you have those gullies, that's where we have significant flooding. It looks like some of the heaviest of the rain has popped up around the Ollie area. But we're also seeing some very significant rain that has occurred in Frisco as well. And 8 inches mostly today, not a good situation. And it's really not that much lower down here in Frisco. And so down south of town along 136 and in Frisco, I'll zoom in a little on some of the roads where I think we're likely going to see most likely trouble. And part of it is, the ground is so flat right in through here, it's hard to get the water to run off, but it will find its way down to those drainages of Bear Creek and Big Escambia Creek. So tighter look to it. If you take Excel Frisco Highway out of Frisco towards Excel, you're going to run into one of those little dips where Big Escambia Creek runs through here. There's also a real significant drain that comes off of the Purdue Hill Road, which is going to be located I'll try and draw it out for you. There is a drain or river beginning of Bear Creek that comes through like this, and so there's likely going to be some flooding going on there. And then the other area that I'd like for you to be aware of if you're up in the area is down in here on Excel Frisco Highway. There is another drainage that's preliminary drainage to Big Escambia Creek that comes through here just to the west of Escambia Avenue. So those, and then of course you're going to see some street flooding in Frisco anyway, because you've got the situation where you have concrete, and so there's not really anywhere for that water to go. Also up in Ollie, between there and Mexboro, we've got a real heavy pocket of rain that occurred here. That's some of the highest totals we've seen. And there are little drains that lead off of this too. And in Monroe, we're not catching a break. I mean, we've seen very heavy rain, about 7.5 inches of rain in Monroe too. So we may have some flooding going on in the Monroe area, especially where you have lots of streets, driveways, rooftops, areas where the water just can't absorb into the ground. And so because of the urban effect, you actually see more flooding potentially there. So we've got Monroe and Frisco are the two areas that we're most concerned with. There are a couple of areas to watch out for. One of those is going to be near Gainestown on the Alabama River. We've seen some heavy rain here. Now most of this is river floodplain anyway, so there's not a lot of folks here, but there are some communities further up as you get up around Gainestown. About 7 to 8 inches of rain has fallen, and this is going to be very close to Choctaw Bluff. Most of that is river bottom there, so that's an area where the population density is relatively low, and it's an area that's accustomed to some flooding anyway, but it is still soaking wet in the Alabama river bottom along the Monroe line between there and Conecuh County, and Clark County, I should say. There's one other pocket that we've watched, and that's over here around Brushy Creek in southeast Greene County. Some pretty heavy rain there. The soil's a little sandier there, but Brushy Creek can jump up big time, and it should be up close to its banks, possibly even out of its banks. That's a tributary of the Escatawpa River, so that'll be something to watch out for folks there. As far as lightning strikes, the severe component of this is winding down, and so we're still getting some embedded lightning, but we're not seeing the high concentration of lightning that we had going on earlier. What's going on with our neighbors around the region? What about the wintry precip? Well, this is better, but it's cold, and most of the sleet and freezing rain is now south of Memphis. We've had some reports in West Memphis within the last hour of some light sleet. The freezing rain starting to wind down. Temperatures in the upper 20s in Memphis right now. And looks like Greenville, Mississippi, Cleveland, Mississippi, Clarksdale getting a light icy glaze going on. It's not going to be as significant as what happened in Memphis and then on up towards Paducah, Kentucky. A lot of these areas still in winter storm warnings up into the Ohio River Valley. Heavy sleet and freezing rain. We've also seen some snow, but there's been a lot of overrunning. So this event has been primarily a sleet and ice event, and that is horrible to drive in, both freezing rain, which is the worst, and then sleet, which is the second worst. You just can't get any traction, and real icy glaze there. Futurecast keeps rain in the picture through about midnight tonight. It takes the convective band to the east. The surface front's going to be almost completely through the area by the early morning hours on Friday. And this is something that's not going to be fun at all. Tomorrow morning at daybreak, we're going to have temperatures in the upper 40s and rain going on, and that's about as warm as it's going to get on your Friday. And we could see some persistent rain even, on into 9 and 10 o'clock tomorrow. The HRRR is holding on to light rain tomorrow at lunchtime with temperatures in the mid 40s and a gusty northerly wind. So we've got some cold weather on the way for the Gulf Coast. That's something we're going to be talking about on Fox 10 News as we look at your weekend forecast. It looks like it's going to be a little blustery. We will be drier and sunnier on Saturday. It looks nice on Sunday, and we'll have temperatures up into the 50s, so looking better there. And our temperatures continue to stay nice in your extended forecast for our daytime highs into next week, with the overnight lows are going to be in the 30s, so those are some big changes that are on the way. The severe event as far as tornadic activity and the severe weather threat is lower, the flooding threat definitely remains, especially in some of those pockets where I showed you where we've had higher precipitation totals, and we'll still be on top of that, and I'll have an update on Fox 10 News at 9. Plus, we'll see about that colder rain event for tomorrow and your weekend forecast for Senior Bowl weekend coming up tonight on Fox.